Hello everyone and welcome back to the Plutonium Show.
We're so happy you could be with us today.
Alrighty, agenda. Wait, I'm being rude. How are you all? I hope you're all fine. Hope you've all had a great weekend. We had a quiet weekend with horrible weather.
Yeah, I like the rainy weekends though. I like it when it's nice and cozy.
Yeah, we play video games.
Yeah.
And other things. But hope you all had a great weekend. I had a mind blank, but it's okay. We'll move on to the agenda.
It's a good time to have a mind blank at the beginning.
Alrighty, so just to start off with, we will quickly discuss the aftermath of the German expose documentary that aired last week. I made a video about it. If you haven't seen it, I'll put it up in the cards. And then we're going to be moving on to Harry's New York Times book deal summit. Believe it or not, there are a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets to dig up from that interview. None of them good.
It never is with Harry. It really never is. Every time he opens his mouth, hey, just like his wife, match made in heaven.
So last week, as you all probably already know, since it was really hyped up in the media, the German documentary called Harry the Lost Prince was released. As I mentioned in my solo video on the topic, I actually ended up having to watch it in German. But luckily for me, it was basically all tabloid journalists who are British being interviewed, and I could hear their answer under the dubs. So I got the whole context anyway, the whole picture. I'm not going to go into what I already said in the video. I just want to spend 5 minutes talking about how that documentary was so hyped up, Zach. I cannot even tell you. I put up a sample of the headlines in the solo video. Just bombshell expose. Meghan and Harry are finished. Their popularity plummets. And guess what it ended up actually being?
Nothing.
A big ol', as people in the comments have been saying, nothing burger.
Ooh, who could have seen that coming? Haven't seen it, by the way. That was just my guess.
It's just the media doing what it does best. And I wouldn't be surprised if Meghan and Harry's PR machine was contributing to that hype. Because as I said, it ended up doing really not much. I mean, they talked... It was a summary of their lives together, as I mentioned in the video itself. And the worst criticism that they got, really, was a neighbor of theirs in Montecito, who was actually a British man, ironically. They're probably like those, Brits, we can't get away from their criticism. He said they're really not part of the community.
Of course they wouldn't be. Meghan doesn't want a community. Meghan wants servants and slaves and people she can boss around. What community?
Exactly.
Unless there's a camera around, of course.
Yeah, which is funny because he's like, the only time you see her is in the farmer's market, looking around. And there was this one time where she called Backgrid to photograph her at the farmer's market. And that's probably the only time he was referencing.
And other than that, she just paces around the house scheming about what she can do next. Oh no, Catherine's doing something. I'm going to go and do something instead.
And that something almost always turns out being, instead of walking around the house scheming, walking around parking lots getting papped.
Hey, look at me drive my car like everybody else.
No, walking around on foot.
Oh gosh.
Literally aimlessly in parking lots.
Aimlessly, oh.
Like, it's deranged. So funnily enough, I bring up this neighbor and it's the only thing that's coming up in the news. Meghan and Harry are hurt. They feel betrayed by that neighbor's comments. All he said is, you guys are not involved. He did not use a single derogatory word against them. He just said the truth, which is that they're isolated. And yeah, all the headlines are like, Meghan and Harry are hurt. Oh, boo-hoo.
I think we all have those people in our lives. People you can't say anything negative to because they'll break down or turn it against you or just basically blow up in your face and go, how dare you even give me the smallest bit of criticism? And Meghan and Harry fit that perfectly.
It's not even really criticism. It's a fact.
It is.
He just said, you never see them. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, that is literally all you get in the aftermath of this documentary. It was such a nothing burger that is what is making headlines. Some neighbors' comments. that were completely innocuous.
My
So
goodness.
I'm fairly certain Meghan and Harry are so disappointed, I should say Meghan in particular, that this expose failed to really even cause any ripples in the water, let alone waves.
I think because everyone wants them to go away, and every time they're brought up, you sit there and go, yeah, we know they're rotten and we need to talk about rotten things they do, but unless you've got something new to add to the table, what's the point? What's the point of this documentary? What's the point of them going and asking a name? You had to go door knocking to find, excuse me, have you got anything mean to say about Meghan and Harry? What? Next to the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Scout Girls selling cookies. Great.
Yeah, just knocking on the door. All right, on to the main course for today's video. Harry's very recent New York Times Book Deal Summit interview. It's funny, Zach, I don't know if you remember, almost exactly 3 years ago, we covered Meghan's appearance in that interview. And I, broadly speaking, have the same things to say, but obviously Harry talks about different things as well. But in general, my first thought always with these appearances of theirs is, why are they sitting there? Why are you invited? How are you qualified? I remember with Meghan, she was with, this chair or something of Starbucks, like Melody Hobson. She's actually married to George Lucas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a nugget. Jeez.
And she seemed so switched on. I don't know anything about her, personally. I don't know if she's woke or whatnot, but she seemed like such a sharp, switched on businesswoman.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that Meghan thought she could compare. She could sit there and be on the same level as that woman, when what actually ended up happening was Meghan just looked so much dumber for it.
Narcissism's a hell of a drug.
But she sat there basically, and the interviewer, is it Andrew? I think his name's Andrew, referenced her appearance and how she said that famous line of, I think tabloids should come with a warning, like in cigarettes.
We're going to compare tabloids to, look, I get that they can rot your brain all the same, but at least with tabloids, it's up to the viewer to make up their mind. And we all know that this is warning. We said mean things about Meghan, not warning. This is a tabloid.
Or warning, we said the truth about Meghan.
Yeah.
Not just mean things, because we shouldn't be saying mean things for the sake of it.
Yep.
So it's funny she says that, though, because she's so in love with the tabloids. She has such a close relationship with them. How do you think we get all these PR leaks and headlines, and every little move, every little step they make, suddenly we're aware of it? How?
I mean, she's biting the hand that feeds in a way, because if it wasn't for the tabloids, then she wouldn't have 90% of the publicity that she has right now.
Oh, she knows it. Especially now. We can argue back 3 years ago, she was still riding on the coattails of royalty, and they were still viewed by most of the world in high esteem because it was pre-Netflix.
And then Meghan kept opening her mouth.
Yes.
And here we are.
Exactly. So same deal with Harry, really. I mean, what are you doing there? I don't know how you're qualified to be interviewed. Apparently the audience is all really important business people. And you've got this prince who has never had to work a day in his life, has never actually toiled to make his money, sitting there. But it turned out to be very much the same thing. This whole topic around social media, Harry's court cases, and of course the usual, misinformation and all that. And I want to actually start off with that, because it's so funny how Harry keeps harping on about the mainstream media and social media having a hidden agenda and how they want to hide the truth to mislead us.
What I see is perhaps a hidden agenda in some mainstream media, and also social media. It's almost like a competition who can hide the truth or lie or mislead us more.
Before we get into the court cases, because he's leading up to that, can we please pause and just talk about very briefly the hypocrisy of that brief statement itself? I mean, all the things that he and his wife engage in.
Yeah, it's the biggest self-report, isn't it? This is exactly what we have been calling them out on for as long as they've been a thing, is Meghan's always got something hidden. She's always trying to do something. I mean, the problem is that she's so stupid that she doesn't realize that we can all see right through it. Oh, Meghan, you were doing something at the same time as Catherine. Oh, what a coincidence. Oh, Meghan, you're launching this brand or doing this pretend royal tour because you got, well, you left the royal family. I'm sure it was almost mutual at this point based on how badly she behaves. But she is the almost textbook definition of hidden agenda, of doing things in a snake-like way.
And lying.
Yeah.
She's an outright liar. It's ridiculous how he can just sit there and talk about hiding the truth and the lies that the media spread. So then he talks about why he's on this crusade against the British press in particular.
One of the reasons why I brought the claim, and I can't talk much about it because, as you say, it starts in less than a month, is specifically for truth and accountability.
What? I'm sorry, truth and accountability. Harry, please look up a frickin' dictionary for truth and accountability, because you and your wife are nowhere near those words. You are the complete opposite of those words. Every single time Meghan's done something, every single time, and people call her out. Hey, stop bullying your staff. Hey, stop bringing people to tears. Where's the accountability?
Yep.
Where is it? Where did she go? Hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. I did something wrong. I'm going to try and be better.
Yeah.
Well, how can you do better if you think you're the best? Oh my gosh, the hypocrisy. Oh.
And that's what really bothers me about this interview. It wasn't an interview. There was no retort. There was no comeback from Andrew. I really hope his name's Andrew. Is it there in the description box? Yes, Andrew. Okay, good. There were no challenges as usual. It's par for the course with this couple. Mm-hmm. They won't sit down with you if you challenge them.
Yep.
So I just found that so hilarious. And I wish he was with a real journalist, like someone like Megyn Kelly, who would just rip him a new one, going accountability.
See it gone.
And what's funny is he couldn't even answer what he means by accountability.
Yeah.
So Andrew kept asking him, what do you mean? What do you mean by accountability? Can you explain that? And Harry skirts around the issue. And eventually he says this.
In terms of that accountability, just so I understand it.
Do you remember when I said I couldn't talk about it?
Yeah.
That's it. That's
what you got. Yeah, of course you can't talk about it. Of course, because you don't know what it is. It's like that kid in school who the teacher says, all right, now use this word in a sentence. And they don't understand the meaning of the word in the slightest. So they keep jumping around and like making things up. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh.
He keeps doing that. I will say, since I got reminded, contrasting him with Meghan, Harry does have... I'm going to get hate for saying this. He has some sort of charisma. He's funny. He cracked jokes numerous times during this interview. They were not rehearsed. They come up very naturally. And even I found myself giggling sometimes. So I do have to say, in comparison to Meghan, I'm not just praising him for the sake of it. He definitely has a way with people. And he knows how to make a room laugh and bring some energy into it. As opposed to his wife, where everything, as that author from the Cut article wrote, is like there's this bachelor producer in her head telling her what to do.
Yep. There's just something more natural.
Yep.
And then when he's wearing it, like even when he was speaking at one point, and you can see he's a bit nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when he's talking about things he has nothing to do with.
Yeah.
You know, like truth and accountability. Yeah. But there's that. Whereas I am Meghan.
It's so funny you do that because I did that in my last video.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The robot thing. So then he talks about how Harry, as the Dragon Slayer, wants to save journalism. He wants to save journalism. He references how, you have real journalists who do the good work, war correspondence, etc., etc., and then you have tabloid trash. And he says he's solely covered by that angle. And my first response to that really is, Harry, your wife feeds the tabloid trash the topics, though. Are you actually in the dark, or are you pretending to be ignorant? Because sometimes I think maybe he doesn't know. He doesn't know that his wife is feeding the tabloids with her own PR machine.
I'm just throwing this out there. I can imagine a home dynamic where gaslighting is a daily occurrence with her. So it's hard to say. It's hard to pinpoint and go, well, he's oblivious or he's willfully ignorant. But whatever it is, it's right there for the entire world to see. So why can't he see it? And if he can see it, why is he okay with lying to everyone that, the tabloids need to go away? If it wasn't for the tabloids, his wife wouldn't have a platform.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm no fan of tabloids myself, but she needs them like oxygen. Mm-hmm. He then goes on to talk about how there are dangerous and defamatory headlines. And of course, he's referencing himself and his wife. Mm-hmm. To which I say, all right, fair enough. I think there are some theories out there that are way out and are most likely not true. Are they defamatory? Unclear. Defamation is not equivalent to lying. I know Harry's not a lawyer, and he really isn't. We'll get into that in just a few seconds. But I noticed that, and this is not a criticism, I'm just sharing my legal expertise. A lot of people conflate lies with defamation, but that's just one of the elements. So with defamation, it has to have some serious likelihood of impacting your reputation.
Yeah.
Which, for example, the surrogacy rumors do. So the thing is, though, he's very, very litigation happy, as we know. Mm-hmm. So why not sue if these headlines are defamatory, if they are not actually criticism? Because he may not be referencing the surrogacy. He may be referencing the general criticism they get. If all of it's defamatory, then go ahead and sue. No one's stopping you. But what I think is behind all this is the usual story with Meghan and Harry. It was very clear from his answers in this interview, more like monologue, that his definition of dangerous and defamatory is just criticism.
Yep.
And those are the bad journalists.
Yeah.
Those are the bad people on social media, the trolls, as he called them in this interview, actually. And then the real journalists are People Magazine and Us Weekly and the one, Marie Claire, the mouthpieces.
The ones in their back pocket, essentially. Exactly. Yeah, maybe he should ask his brother, because his brother actually does things that are worth praising and still gets criticism for those as well. But obviously that's not going to happen. If Harry did something worth praising and wasn't just a mouthpiece and wasn't just pushing Meghan's agenda along, then maybe he'd understand that there can be two sides to this story. There can be two sides to the coin. Hey, you did something good. Excellent. Now we're going to report on that. No matter what you do in the public space, there will always be people against you, and that's never going to go away. But guess what? That comes with freedom of speech. Is it taken too far by some tabloids? Absolutely. But he's talking about silencing people.
Well, it's funny. I know you're not aware, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here.
Oh, are we now?
Because that comes up in the next topic.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up this one by bringing up his comments on the British legal system.
And the legal system within the UK is very different to I don't know how different it is to here, but there is a system which is set up where if you are offered more money as a settlement than you would ever get in court, then you're forced to have to settle.
So basically what he's saying here is one of the tenets, one of the reasons for out-of-court settlements. Any lawyer worth half their weight in gold will tell you that the number one objective of a court is the efficient and fair administration of justice. Efficiency is key. Why do you think out-of-court settlements exist? Why do you think they are encouraged? And why do you think you will be penalized, as he said, financially, if you refuse a reasonable offer that ended up being even better than what you get in judgment? All of these are put in place by the justice system on purpose to ensure the efficient administration of justice, meaning, hey, whatever can be dealt outside of court, we really encourage it because we are clogged. We are clogged for time and resources. There are often waiting lists and case after case after case, especially after COVID because things were put on hold. And so he's criticizing something that is the basis of the court system. It just astounds me how he thinks he can weigh in, and he only ends up making himself look like an idiot, like a fool. And quite honestly, he makes his lawyer, Sherborne, look like a fool too. Because if I were his lawyer, I'd explain to him. I'd explain, hey, listen, this is going to happen if you lose. And here's the reason, by the way, or if you reject the offer, rather. Here's the reason. Because they don't have time for a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to civil cases. where the end goal is money anyway. That's why you take anyone to court when it comes to civil cases. You're not seeking criminal justice. So he is so arrogant, so up himself. And to wrap this up quickly, because I'm really running out of time here, he says, I know I'm going to end up paying the other party's costs because I'm not going to get as much as they offered me or they would offer me, but I don't care. This is all about truth and accountability. I will waste taxpayer money. I'm adding this part because who do you think funds the courts? How the courts stay up and running? And he is completely aware of that. And he is more than happy to waste not just his own money, but the money of the hard workers of Britain. Basically, the poster child for vexatious litigant. I rest my case.
Drop the mic. Please don't drop the microphone.
Before we move on to the next segment, seeing as we were talking about accountability and truth and hidden agendas, don't forget to check out my link, my special discount with Ground News. You can get that through check.ground.news/lostbeyondpluto for 50%, 50, off a Vantage plan to get access to news from a source with no hidden agenda. Next, they move on to the topic of social media and censorship, freedom of speech.
Ah, right. This is what you meant by me kind of broaching the topic a bit early.
Yeah. So I'm going to summarize a bit here because of time constraints. I was going to play clips. I'll see if I can do that in editing, but I'm going to proceed with as though we're not going to reference all the clips. Basically, he talks about the need for credible information is now more important than ever. And again, you kind of go, you can't keep a straight face.
Man, this guy talking out of his ass. Seriously, what's wrong with this? Oh my God. And the other thing too is his audience, back to who they are. You'd think that they have read a thing or two about this. They
I really
probably
doubt
know
it.
Something.
I really doubt it. We always say this. This is a little bubble that we think the rest of the world cares about. But in all honesty, the majority of the world don't give two hoots about Meghan and Harry. It's just so funny. He says that, and all I can think of is him sitting next to her on the Oprah interview, and even in Netflix when they were filming all their segments, listening to her lie. And he talks about the need for credible information.
Credible for everyone else. For me, I can make up whatever the hell I want and you have to believe it because I'm Prince Harry.
Oh, that makes sense. You're right. Because all of us shouldn't be getting on planes for holidays. But he can use a private jet like it's a taxi.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Then he just makes the same comments about social media as he did with mainstream media earlier, basically saying there's no transparency, no accountability, and they make billions by spreading lies, hate, and misinformation. Sounding like a broken record here, but he is, again, changed the billions for millions, and it's what he and his wife do.
That's her business. That is what she does. It's her bread and butter. She doesn't know how to do things that aren't hateful and aren't lying and aren't anything but destructive things. That's why we're here, because someone has to talk about it.
Interestingly, he also makes a very brief comment. I'm not going to elaborate on this because he didn't on the Australia ban.
Right.
So I thought this would have been right down their alley. That's what I said last week, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't think it makes sense.
No one's asking for or looking for a ban, but what they do want is safety at the heart of it, safety at the heart of design.
Right. Let me ask you this, though. I don't know if you saw in Australia, they passed a ban for children under 16, social media, across the board. That makes sense to you?
As I just said, I don't think it necessarily makes sense.
Which I found very interesting. He thinks it's going to lead to more issues between kids and their parents, even though I'm like, but it's not the parents. I'm not a fan of the ban either, by the way, but I'm like, Harry, you don't understand. It's not the parents imposing the ban. He goes on and says the kids will be bullied in school because they'll be the only one not on social media. And I'm like, did you understand the ban?
Pretty sure everyone was subject to the ban.
It's just,
So there will be no kid. In fact, the kid that has access to social media by some means will be the one kid that everyone flocks to. It'll be the opposite, because the law will be, you're a child, you shouldn't have social media.
He just doesn't get it. He doesn't even know what the Australian ban is about. He has no clue.
It's like he heard it, someone talking about it in a restaurant, and was half listening.
And you think he would have read up on it, preparing for this day, this interview, because he knew they were going to broach the topic of social media and kids and online safety, because he even references the Parents Network initiative, from Archwell. Do your homework. Wait, he never did, though. Not even back in school.
Yeah, I was going to say, the fact that he's saying the words, I still can't get over it. Truth and accountability, and harping on about that, a little bit of research would have been like, hey, maybe don't say that. But yeah, he just misses every point. He's just there to say whatever comes to his mind and not think anything through, which, again, reminds me of Meghan.
Andrew then moves on to what I think was a quite stimulating topic. Unfortunately, Harry, dilutes it into something one-dimensional. But Andrew starts talking about the reality, the shift that the world, in particular, I think he meant America, is experiencing now, where more than ever, people don't want to be told what to believe in. People don't want to be fed information. They want access to all information, and then they want to decide for themselves, using their God-given brains, what to believe and what not to believe. And so Andrew asks him, what are your thoughts on that? Because there is a dichotomy there. You can't have transparency, which Harry keeps harping on about in this segment. He talks a lot about the importance of transparency with social media to be held accountable. But you can't really have that much transparency if you're also spoon-feeding the public the information.
Yep.
And while Andrew doesn't reference this topic, it is incredibly obvious to me, at least, and I think many people who watch this interview, that he was referencing the whole Hunter Biden laptop case, because when that first broke, every mainstream, especially left-leaning mainstream media in America were saying it's Russian disinformation. And some people believed it. But then it turned out to be a lie.
Yeah.
The laptop exists. So again, he was being very careful and not touching that topic explicitly, but that's a really good example of what happens when you allow the powers that be to tell you what to believe. They will lie. And so what does Harry have to say about this? Let's listen.
I don't believe that everybody is saying, just give us everything. I believe that the majority of people want to know that that the information isn't being censored. But that safeguards are absolutely necessary. This idea that someone's taking away free speech, that to me is a complete distraction.
He really did just muddy the waters, didn't he? He made a mess of it. Like, all right, explain what you mean by the fact that protecting free speech and censorship are the same thing.
Safeguards, he calls them.
Safeguards.
He's using a euphemism.
Yeah, I wonder if your lawyers told you to use that word. We were so close to getting to a point, which is what we've been saying, is that people should be able to make up their own minds, and they should have the tools to make up their own minds by having all that information. But you can almost see this shock on his face, like, this is the complete opposite of what we've been doing. No, this is bad. How do I say this? Because if he says straight up, no, I think we need to censor the entire world so that we can feed them what we believe and tell them my wife is amazing, then that's not going to look very good.
Don't forget, he was a commissioner on the Aspen board of misinformation. He's a commissioner for misinformation. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
From 3 years ago?
Yep.
So, it's an interesting question to ask him. It's a pity Andrew didn't reference that role of his, because there's a clear conflict of interest there.
Big time.
This is a guy who was on a board that commissioned a report about doing just that, censoring us and spoon-feeding us and dictating to us what is and isn't true.
Yeah.
And clearly he hasn't changed his mind based on this answer. He doesn't understand the public if he truly believes the majority of people don't want free access to information, because that's what he said.
There's no one who doesn't want to know what's going out there. If you tell someone, I'm not going to tell you what's here. I mean, even just newspapers paywalling their content, right? Even just stopping someone from reading something in a newspaper online because the newspaper is like, oh, it's a digital age, we need to make money. That is infuriating in itself, especially when they give you the first paragraph and you're like, oh, okay, no, now I need to pay for this. If that's infuriating, how much more infuriating is it that we're just being fed nothing? It's like, no, this has been curated. Here, have this. This is what you have to believe. That's not what we want, Harry.
Well, he wants North Korea.
Yeah, essentially.
I've been on a deep dive these past couple of days, on the weekend, really, when I had free time. He wants North Korea. Mm-hmm. The thing that really bothers me about Harry and Meghan, actually, is that they never have in-depth answers. They never have in-depth solutions. It's all about the headline for them. It's the surface, and they barely scratch it. So when he says safeguards, can you give us examples? Because I'll be the first to tell you, I hate how the internet is.
Yeah.
This wild, wild west where people can just insult each other and take things out of context. And it's actually, Harry references this. And in my notes, I say I agree with one thing that he says. I might as well just play the clip.
On social media, every conversation and every complicated topic is squashed into a box. Limited characters.
Right.
And the moment you strip away context from anything, it just becomes a shouting match. Whereas here in these conversations, there is actually added context. I don't know whether people agree or disagree, but at least there's context. It's conversation. We as human beings, that's what we're designed to do.
Thoughts?
Yes, he is correct. That when he's correct about the shouting match, and I don't think it's down to character limits.
No, he gave an example.
Yeah.
Because it happens on YouTube.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
when you don't give disclaimers and you don't spoon feed people the context and the apologies and the trigger warnings, and they instantly take you out of context.
Yes.
And they attack you and scream at you in the comment section.
Yeah, it's weaponized, but at the same time, you have the bad actors who will weaponize something, take you out of context, and go over to some other forum and shout, "Oh, this person said this." But on the other hand, you have Harry and Meghan who do horrendous things all the time, and are we really taking them out of context when we call criticism on that? It's like I'm trying to be a bit of a read between the lines here, because he doesn't seem to be able to give straight answers, which means that he isn't effectively communicating what he wants to say, and he's trying to find a way of saying something that doesn't back him into a corner, because someone might use this against him in the future. But Harry, you said this. But Harry, you said that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mr. Charisma over here, I would have thought that he would be a little more natural.
Well, he was natural. I just don't think he is a deep thinker.
Yeah.
He's really not, just like his wife, and they are actually two peas in a pod in that regard. It's funny you say he's not saying what he really thinks. Yeah, well, because, that too was referenced in this little segment. I don't know if you all remember what Harry said about the First Amendment almost 5 years ago now, 2020, I think.
Yeah. I got so much I want to say about the First Amendment. I still don't understand it, but it is bonkers.
You don't go to another country and call their amendment bonkers.
And Andrew actually asks him.
Oh, no.
He says, well, let me play the clip.
What do you think? I mean, you live here now. What do you think of the First Amendment?
There's no way I'm going to talk about that. Bonkers.
It's funny. Let me see what he actually says, because I am curious. I forgot.
What I will say to that is, so Dr. Marianne Franks has just written a book called Fearless Speech, Chapter 4. And I think it really encapsulates and explains the current situation with regard free speech, specifically how social media has done a very good job in defining reckless speech.
Defining reckless speech. And what is that definition?
Read the book. Read the book, man.
The shocking part for me was, to be quite frank, is Harry reads books.
That's what I was thinking. I was just thinking, I'm like, he doesn't come across as a reader. He really doesn't.
He really doesn't. Clearly, he's only read chapter 4.
Yeah.
But we should tap him on the head for that. Because
he read the words, puppy.
He read chapter 4.
Oh, you read the half of a book. Oh.
It's look, the title of the chapter is interesting. Without reading the book, it's kind of self-explanatory. Reckless speech. People just say whatever they want without thinking about the consequences. In fact, reckless disregard for the truth is actually an element of defamation.
Yeah.
So it ties into that as well. Anyways, I just found it funny that Harry reads and he's self-aware about the whole freedom of speech is bonkers thing. Final segment touches upon this whole dichotomy between the attention a celebrity gets, a celebrity like Harry, who needs the attention to shine a light on his causes, versus privacy. And I think Andrew makes a really good point when he asks this question, which obviously I've just paraphrased, because he's right. Without attention, and Meghan knows this, how are we going to know, Harry, about all the things that you want to bring attention to, like the Wild Child Awards, Invictus Games, etc., etc. And before Harry could answer, Andrew then segues a little bit and talks about how you guys have a lot of interest in you, him and Meghan, and how there are always stories and rumors, and even Harry's solo appearance here is sparking all that divorce speculation. And Harry sees a chance to attack the trolls, as he likes to call them. And look, I'm sure there are trolls. They do exist. Yeah. But we all know he's painting us all with that brush. Mm-hmm. Personally, you guys know we don't speculate in those rumors at all. I never believed they were heading for a divorce. And if they are, it's a tragedy and it's the end of a marriage. It's not something we want to gloat about. But this is what he says.
So is that a good thing for you in a way that there's so much interest in you?
No, there's definitely not a good thing. Because apparently we've bought or moved house maybe 10, 12 times. We've apparently divorced maybe 10, 12 times as well. The people I feel most sorry about are the trolls who their hopes are just built and built and built. And it's like, yes, 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 yes. And then it doesn't happen. Right. So I feel sorry for them. Genuinely, I do. I mean that.
To me, the fact that he harped on about that for like a few seconds of how sorry he feels just tells me it was just a jab.
Yeah.
Just multiple jabs.
Yeah, he felt it. I think he felt it a lot. I think he just really wanted that opportunity to just go back, just get back at them somehow, say something. Because his family's motto, don't complain, don't explain, that would have gone smoothly here. That's how you deal with trolls. You ignore them. You don't bring light to them. If there really were trolls, Harry, you just multiplied them. You just gave them a breeding ground by calling them out.
Honestly, the way I see it, your PR machine is who was putting these headlines out there to begin with. You're the ones who announced a separate professional, a separation of your professional lives. We didn't create that.
Yeah, why would you do that?
It was announced so that they could stir up speculation. Yep. Are they getting divorced? This is all by design. And again, I don't know if he's aware, but Meghan, his wife, has been in Hollywood or, Hollywood adjacent, knocking on Hollywood's, looking at people through the glass from the outside and dealing with PR companies for 2 decades at this point. She spent all of her earnings pretty much from Suits on Sunshine Sachs and other PR companies to heighten her profile, and it never worked. But she knows how these machines work, and she's utilizing them to her advantage. Your wife is putting out these headlines, and so if there's anyone you want to feel sorry for, if there's anyone you should be using your sympathy points on, it should be yourself for being stuck in such a situation with that woman, and perhaps for your obliviousness, but most importantly for your attention-starved wife.
At the end of the day, she really is the biggest troll, isn't she? She's the one who likes to troll everyone else. She likes to troll her staff. She likes to troll the royal family. She likes to troll even other celebrities. She likes to troll people because at the end of the day, thinking that everyone is falling for her shenanigans, everyone is falling for her fake persona, I think that's very trolly in itself. So I think you're right. If he wants to come after the trolls, he's going to have to look in his own house.
A few brief talking points just to wrap this up. Andrew asks him about whether he wants to stay in the US, and he responds in the affirmative and says, oh yeah, there are things I can do here that I could never do in the UK with my kids. And I'm just like, again, can you elaborate? Yeah. Can you please share with us what people in the UK are missing out on? Maybe they want to move to the US and do things with their kids. He touches briefly upon his security case in the UK, where he wants some taxpayer-funded police security. And this is what he has to say on that, just real quick.
I never should have had security removed in the first place.
You shouldn't have quit.
Yeah.
You quit the job, you lose the perks.
Pretty much. Oh, why aren't I getting free healthcare and dental for the job I applied for? You quit.
And he doesn't even stop there. He just harps on some more word salad if you're curious. And also, some people do complain about the brevity of the clips. Please understand that these clips can get copyright strikes. We have to stop them. We have to put really brief segments and then comment about them. And that's how you get around the copyright strike system. So if you want to watch the whole interview, if I don't link it in the description box, you can just Google it or, YouTube search it. But then he's clearly in denial because he literally says about all of his cases where he is the plaintiff. He is not the defendant. So he is initiating the cases. And this is what he says.
I'm not starting them, right? I'm just trying to, again, find truth and accountability and ultimately reconciliation.
He's not starting them. He's not starting them.
Oh my gosh. Could we please look at the filings? What's that? Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, taking to court. A, B, C, D, E, F, the entire alphabet, and then some.
I have this image of David Sherborne just counting the pounds.
Yep.
I was gonna say dollars, counting the pounds and yes, that's right, Harry. Yeah.
Yep.
And he's completely. This man is clueless. For someone who has been eyeballs deep in litigation, he is perhaps one of the most clueless plaintiffs or claimants, as you call them in the UK, I believe, that I have ever had the misfortune of coming across. I mean, I've come across a few in my personal life, but. This is a joke. This is a travesty. This is an embarrassment. I'm not starting these, right?
Oh my gosh, you're not starting.
Then who is your wife? Was this an admission?
Oh.
Was this an admission?
Oh, spicy. Oh, it sounds like it, doesn't it? It does sound like something she would do. Harry, take them to court, or I don't know. Or
I divorce you. Well, she did it in the beginning. Harry, announce our relationship formally, or I leave you.
I should have taken the bargain, dude. You were right there. You were right there. The exit was there. You could have taken it. You didn't. Now look at you. You're laughing stock.
And finally, to end off, he's asked about his legacy. And this is what he had to say.
The thing that means the most to me and the thing I want to be known for is that no matter what was happening around me, that he stuck to his values and he always stayed true to that.
This could be a whole topic in and of itself, but we're really running out of time. But says the man who allowed his wife to metaphorically spit on his dying grandfather, his dying grandmother, his own ailing father now, and his brother who was there for him his whole life.
Oh, and don't forget his sister-in-law.
Of course, Catherine, of course.
Yeah.
Those are your values. Allowing your wife to lie and destroy your family, rip you apart. Some values. I mean, I'm starting to wonder whether the British Army should publicly denounce this man because he references the values instilled into him by the army. I have those values. I'm an army servicewoman myself, and I can tell you our values have nothing to do with lies and defamation and betrayal. It's quite the opposite. Integrity, excellence, respect. That's what they instill upon you as a soldier. And I'm sorry, but Harry, I do not recognize any of our army values in you and how you've behaved.
The only thing I can think when I think of Harry's legacy is he let the enemy in. That's what he did. He let the enemy in. He let the enemy come into his home, his family, and destroy them. And to this day, is still letting that enemy attack them. He
Spot on.
is the Trojan horse. Meghan rode him all the way in.
Yep. Oh, sorry. That sounds a little bit R-rated, but we didn't mean it that way.
I meant. We
did not mean it that way. I'm just look for a prude. I have a dirty mind sometimes.
That's what the internet does to you.
Alrighty. Last week we completely forgot the joke of the week, even though I had one lined up, but that's fine because I have an even better one this week. I actually had two, but we're running out of time, unfortunately. So I'm just going to have to stick with the one. Maybe if I don't have one for next week, I'll use the second one from this week. But here is a meme from, was it yesterday or the day before? Notre Dame's grand opening in Paris, where Donald Trump and Prince William were in attendance.
I did hear about that.
All credit to Reddit. That's where I found, that's a nice rhyme. Oh, wow, you really like that one. See, I discovered it yesterday, so I let out most of the laughter already.
I just read it in their voices.
Yeah, right?
And William saying it in such it's a professional, but you've got the worry. Like,
yeah, please don't.
Oh, gosh, that was so good.
So, obviously, it was on the screen. If you're wondering what it was and you missed it, if you weren't paying attention, just rewind a little bit. But it is, one of the best memes I've seen in a long time.
Jeez, that is the meme of 2024 right there. Jeez.
Alrighty, everyone. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, that's it. We will see you next week. Same time, same place, all going well. Because I'm sure these two will get up to something again, as they always do.
As they always do. It's their oxygen after all. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.